Happy Halloween, IB artists. This, believe it or not, is Miss A. If you are really confused right now, or if you have no idea what's going on, wait till the end of the video when all shall be revealed. If you do know who I'm supposed to be, hurrah! Excellent! Today we'll be talking about this seemed like a really good idea, but I think that I'll probably sound very, very muffled. So I hope you can just bear with me. It's a bit of Halloween fun and hopefully educational as well. Okay, so thank you. So let's get into the details of what the process portfolio component is about. Like with your research or the comparative study component, you will be presenting slides as evidence of what you have done for this component throughout your course. So a lot of it will be happening in your sketchbooks, your arts journals. And the IB says that you are supposed to be showing evidence of experimentation, exploration, manipulation, and refinement of various processes, techniques, and your skills. This is basically what leads up to your final, more resolved pieces. So it is called the process portfolio because you are showing the process with which you got to the final pieces. So this way, whoever's looking at your work has some idea of how you have consistently developed, expanded, and resolved your issues, your visual problems and experimentations. Even though the weighting of this component is 40%, 20% is awarded to the comparative study, which I already discussed in my previous video, and another 40% is awarded to the final component, which is the exhibition. They all overlap, they all prepare or lead up to the exhibition. So for this component, you are basically showing evidence of your experimentation, manipulation, and refinement of processes, effects, and techniques, and generally expanding your art skill set, if you like. So the key word here is skill. That is really what you are being marked on. This is really where you are acquiring the fluency in the language of art. You are not only learning about the language of art, but you are also using it to express the ideas and to communicate the ideas and intentions that you want your work to deal with. To be honest, this component cannot be underestimated. I will kind of stick my neck out a little bit and say that if you are technically competent and fluent and excel, have a very strongly developed skill set, you will most probably do very well, generally speaking. And this doesn't mean that you can get away with not having any kind of research or ideas or development of intentions. Not at all. But I think that it is definitely not to be underestimated. I think that it is extremely important that you really spend a lot of time honing your skills, developing your skills, refining your skills. This does mean a lot of work. I think at some point, I'm not sure, I think I read this in the book Art and Fear, which is an excellent book, by the way. And they basically said that they tested a group of artists or I think this was all art students. So they tested a group of art students and told them only to make really, really good work And the other group of artists was told that just to make a lot of work. So it didn't really matter so much about the quality of the work, but they would just, they were encouraged to have large quantities of work. What happened in the end is that the people who worked a lot also became a group that did very, very well in terms of the finished products. The point of the story is that there are no shortcuts. If you want to do something well, you need to practice it. It is just like playing an instrument. It is just like if you want to be a writer, then you need to write. And that's basically what, this whole course is about. There has to be as much work generated over the 2 years as possible, because that will ensure that you have the skills to communicate or explore or develop the intentions and the ideas that you really want to, that you're not compromising those ideas and intentions because you don't have the skill set. In order to guide you, the IB divides this art-making practice component, the process portfolio, into 3 kind of sections. So the first section is the section of context. So it encourages you to critically think about the processes, effects, techniques, materials that are being used in artwork, in art generally speaking, so that you can think about the appropriateness of them, and so that you can experiment with these and add them to your own skill set. But you're basically, for the context kind of section, you are asked to think about the processes and media critically. The second section focuses on methods. For this section, you are experimenting with a variety of media. You are adding them to your skill set, and then through that, you are generating more ideas. I talked a little bit about this in the comparative study, because the comparative study is basically where you do your research. And the process portfolio is where you actually get to apply what you have learned. But through that, you are also generating ideas. You are also finding and stumbling over new avenues to explore and new kind of ways of communicating. For the last section, which is the section that focuses on communication, you are basically bringing it all together. You are combining the media that you're using, the concepts that you have generated and explored, as well as the techniques and skills that you have mastered. And together, those 3 components or elements should then become the resolved pieces of work, or more resolved pieces of work that you will be exhibiting in your exhibition component. For the section that focuses on communication, you also need to show evidence of reflection and evaluation. So while you are working, while you are experimenting, while you are acquiring and refining and developing skills, you are also reflecting on your progress, you're evaluating the process, you're showing that there is an awareness that accompanies you on your journey of experimentation with the media, with the concepts, and with the skills. You're making independent choices about the media that you're using. You're critically thinking about why you're choosing the media that you're choosing. And you're also looking at the form that your work takes, whether it's 3D or whether it's a digital work. This is according to the purpose that it has. What are the intentions behind the work? Now, again, this component is also an independent study, which means that, like the comparative study, you're not waiting around for your teacher to tell you what to do. You should be meeting with your teacher, you should have regular conversations about what you're doing, and they are there really to kind of guide you and to help you. And also they are there to authenticate that this journey that you're on is indeed your work, that it is indeed your endeavor. So this is very important that you show them how you are developing the work and arriving at the decisions that you are. They're also there to help you with obviously the techniques and any knowledge that you need, either by demonstrating themselves or to kind of guide you in the direction that you're going in and showing you work that would be appropriate. Of course, gallery visits and museum visits are included, but also videos on arts and artists, especially those who focus on specific skills or processes. And also, they should be ensuring that any work that you are looking at or exploring is properly referenced. As with the IB Visual Arts essay, as with all work on the Visual Arts IB course, it should always be clear whose work it is. If I'm looking at a slide with work on it, I should have all the information I need while looking at their work as to who the author is. So not only are you carefully labeling other people's work, but you're also doing this to your own work, so that distinction is made very, very clear. So when you are referencing a work of art, you have to make sure that the following are clearly stated: the title, the artist, the medium, and the date of the artwork. Your teacher is also going to be making sure that you are doing the correct number of art forms, which depends on the level that you are, whether you're SL or HL. Now, I've done a video on this, and you may want to check that out, but I'll be talking more about that in a second. So for this component, what are examiners actually looking for? They're looking for sustained and consistent manipulation and experimentation of a variety of media and techniques. Sustained and consistent being the key words. Also, that you are choosing the media, the techniques and processes that are appropriate for your intentions of what you want to do and what you want to communicate to your audience through your work. They also want to see that your work has been informed by your learning of artists, artworks, a variety of art genres, evidence of application of that learning, and taking it further to experimentation and hopefully insights ultimately, where you are applying that knowledge in a creative way to your own work. Lastly, when you are submitting the screens, ensure that you are using appropriate subject-specific language. I've talked about the art vocabulary in my previous videos on the comparative study specifically, also a little bit in the extended essay in the visual arts. But basically developing an art vocabulary, firstly you do that by reading a lot about art and learning and picking up the language that is being used. And secondly, you are doing this so that you can very coherently and eloquently elaborate on your whole process. Just so you know, at the back of the visual arts guide, which you can get from your teacher or your IB coordinator at your school, there is a glossary of command terms. You might want to check that out and make sure that you understand the terms that are listed there and that you are using them. There is a minimum amount of art forms that the work that you submit must be in. And the IB divides the kind of options into 3 different sections. The first section is 2D based work, the second section is the 3D based work, and the third section is basically digital artwork. I'm going to put those up so that you can see them clearly. So for the SL students, they have to submit artwork in at least 2 different art forms from 2 separate columns. And for the HL students, they have to submit work in at least 3 different art making forms, which come from a minimum of 2 different columns. Again, I've talked about this a little bit more in the SL versus HL video, but refer to the table of art form that I've put up. So for the SL students, you are submitting 9 to 18 screens. For the HL students, you are submitting 13 to 25 screens. So what specifically should be in your arts journal and ultimately in your slides? Experimentation, trying stuff out, so lots of drawing, making sure that you have observational drawing, that you show how your skills of drawing have progressed. So, what were your drawing skills like at the beginning, and where are you at the end of the 2 years? Same thing for painting, for example. You could have pages of how you arrive at, mixing colors and your understanding of colors through painting, looking at different brush strokes, trying out different techniques. Sculpture, same thing. Digital artwork, the same thing. So really what the examiners want to see in your screens that you submit is the actual work that you have done, the experimentation, the trials, the failures, your thoughts while you were doing them, how you use strategies to improve or to turn a failure around and to make it a success. Make sure if you are submitting lots of digital work, be very, very careful to show the steps of how you are putting the digital image or video together, because digital work can be very, very easy. Most of us use digital media in some form or another. So make sure that if, for example, you're proficient at something like Photoshop, which is quite a complex software, that you are showing the steps of how you took the photograph, how you then layered it, possibly manipulated it, etc. Make sure that whoever's looking at your work, even if they are not proficient in the digital medium that you're using, that they kind of can follow your process and appreciate how much work and refinement has gone into that work. On the screens, you may submit some of the resolved pieces that you will put up in the exhibition. However, if you have work that isn't quite resolved enough to put up in the exhibition, this is a good place to kind of include the pieces that you will take out eventually. There is no specification as to the layout of the screens, but like the screens that you're submitting for the comparative study, make sure that they are legible, coherent, clear, and that they're not just like a mishmash of different bits of your sketchbook or art journal. Make sure that they are very easy to follow, clear as to what you're doing, how your mind works, how your critical thinking has led you to the decisions that you're making, how you are synthesizing or putting together your ideas, your choice of media, and your processes and techniques to really develop and refine this body of work that is appropriate to the intentions that you have and is communicating with your audience. Right, we've made it through. Hopefully I haven't mumbled too much and have been clear in this video. If you still have no idea what's going on, please check out the link below. Watch the video, it's really, really good. And check out these really inspirational artists. Thank you for bearing with me. If you have any questions, make sure that you ask them in the comments. My next video will be a follow-up to this one, will be part 2, where I will be discussing the criteria for the process portfolio component in more detail. Have a fantastic Halloween. If you are a Halloween freak like I am, I have 2 video suggestions for you. If you have never seen these 2 films, they're really a lot of fun. The first one is Only Lovers Left Alive, I think that's really quite a beautiful film. And the other one is What We Do in the Shadows. I think it's brilliant. Anyway, enjoy. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.